Hello, welcome to GOT Good Old Tech. I'm Mark, and today we're going to do a quick review and first impression on the brand new Samsung Galaxy S24. And I'm going to compare it to a couple other phones just real briefly, and then we're going to wrap it up with my first impression. Before we begin, take a look at these phones. Which one is the S24? Can you tell? Go ahead and guess now, and later on we'll review it. First off, let's open that box. Well, they really wrap these things well, and I don't know how much of this I'm actually going to show. I may not show all this, but let's get this thing out. Let me just speed through it. Aha. There's an anti-reflective shield. We'll have to try that out. And here's the case, shield case that came with it, or that I got for free with it. So leave these here. And then here is the phone. And that's it. The rest is an empty box. Who needs that? So here we go. The Galaxy S24. Now, I'm willing to bet when we get it out of here, it's going to be hard to tell which one is what. So I'm going to have you guys try and guess here which one is the real deal. Okay, as you can see, all three look very similar. But let's take a closer look. What we got here, I'll peel this off. There we go. It's always a nice feeling, isn't it? And reveal, this is the iPhone 12. That's your iPhone. This over here is the Galaxy S21. And in the middle, we've got the new S24. And just at a quick glance, you can see here, there's a lot of similarities. Now let's go ahead and take a closer look at the exterior of these phones. Starting off at the back, as you can see, the iPhone and the Samsung look very similar, the roundness and everything. Where the older one, it's actually rounded on the corners, on the edges. Now something that's very different with Samsung is, they have added the third camera, where Apple on their standard iPhone only puts the 2 camera, which of course is the standard view and then the ultra wide. And you get an additional 3x zoom on the Samsung phone. So on their flagship phone, their starter model, you get a better deal as far as cameras go. Now let's look how similar the iPhone is now to the S24. You see there the S21, it's rounded, but on the S24 and the iPhone, they are both pretty much squared off and looking identical. If you look at this, I don't know if you can see it well enough, but the camera bands are actually nearly in the same place. The iPhone is just it's a hair shorter, not much. I believe it's a 6.1 inch screen, where the Samsung is a 6.2 inch screen. So it's a little bit larger on the screen end. But when you look at them from the front, they look very similar. The only thing that differentiates them between each other is if you look here, there is a round camera right there on the Samsung S24, and on the camera on the iPhone is kind of off-centered there, and in the middle is a speaker. So that's a really quick difference identifier when looking at the front. It looks like the Samsung is more narrow, but it's not. I don't know, maybe it's just my eyes here. And then of course on the side, there's nothing on the one side here of the Samsung, but on the other side they have both the rocker arm and the power button, where on the iPhone they have the power button on this side, and then the volume controls on the other side, and of course the switch. And on the newer ones, well, on the Pros, they have an action button. So there's the exterior, and they both look very similar, and they're very, very beautiful. I really like the flatness on this. There's no shininess on the Samsung, where on the iPhone, it's still a glossy finish. This is a 12 model. I think on the newer models, it may be different. We're gonna compare a newer model iPhone when I do some of my comparisons. This is just an exterior view, and if you look here on the bottom, the iPhone, of course, this being the older model, still has that lightning cable, which is a slower cable for charging and data transfer versus the C, which you get on the S24. And then of course you have the speaker down here, and on the iPhone, one of these is a speaker, the other one is just aesthetics to make it look similar. And then of course you have your SIM card tray there on the iPhone, and a SIM card tray on the bottom of the S24. So that's the exterior. Let's go ahead and boot them both up. They're going to be very similar in screen because I think they're both 1080p, if I'm not mistaken. And let's see if this Samsung is going to light up at all. There it goes. This is the S21. The S21, of course, turn it on. We'll compare this as well, just on a quick view. If you look here on the S21 versus the S23, or S24, I'm sorry, it looks like this is more narrow than this, but I think it's just an optical illusion because they are about the same. It's the rounded quarters that do make it narrow. They're supposedly the same size screen, but it's really hard to tell. We'll do more deeper comparisons later in another video. Okay, here I got the phone all set up, at least turned on. I didn't really do any to set up with it. It's just on now. I went through all the settings. So now I've got all three phones lined up here. And as you can see, they're all very similar in size. They're all similar in display. Of course, with the iPhone having the big notch, you don't have as good screen to display ratio as you do on the other two, having the little hole. And as we know, that's strictly for the Face ID built into the iPhones, although you could still use Face ID on these two. And you would have the very similar thing if you had got the Pixel 8. I actually happen to have the Pixel 8 Pro. I don't have the Pixel 8 because I wanted the Pro. But you can see it's very similar. And if this one goes to a bright screen all the way, there we go. So they're all very similar indoors. I guess the difference is going to be outdoors, but we're going to test that in another video. So there you have it, a quick open box and my first impression of this phone. And first impression, pretty much just like all the others. It's squared off just like the iPhone, so it's not as comfortable in the hand as the older S22 and S21, but it still feels good. Very compact, feels very light. It feels like an iPhone, to be honest. Let's go ahead and open up this case real quick before we end this, and we'll put this case on the phone, see how it looks. There we go. It's like pretty nice. This is a Samsung case. Samsung makes really nice cases. Slide that bad boy in there. That looks really nice. Kind of slick. It's a rubbery but hard play. It's in between. It feels kind of slick. So I don't know that I would recommend this case. It's pretty slippery. This was a case that was recommended by Samsung themselves on their website. I don't know if you can see the ribs here. I would pass on this case. It's very slippery. Well, there you have it. Before we wrap this up, just want to let you know, I think you've got another day left if you want to pre-order. You get some free stuff with it. You get the additional memory space on it. They give you go from 128 to 256 if you pre-order, and then they give you some free credit to get additional items for it. So you might want to check on that right now before that ends. I think it ends January 31st, but I can certainly be wrong on that. Now I'm going to be doing some detailed comparisons of this phone and others, so you want to stay tuned to the channel. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and while you're down there, go ahead and hit that like button. Helps out this channel so I can provide more content for you. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.